Hi guys, it's Wombat, and today I thought I'm gonna show you my hometown and where I live and work and live my daily life in Stockholm, Sweden. We have two commercial airports in Stockholm. We have the Bromma flygplats, which is the city airport, and then we have the much larger, much more well-known Arlanda airport, which is the hub here in Sweden. And I thought we'd take off from Arlanda and then go around Stockholm and have a look at it, and of course my part of Stockholm, Tyresö, and then we're gonna head back over to Bromma again. So let's get started. And here we are at Arlanda Airport. It's the first time I actually get to see this view. I've flown out of Bromma and Arlanda as well quite a few times in my life, so there's nothing new to any of those two airports to me, even though I'm not a pilot in any way. This is the first game I actually use since Microsoft Flight Simulator 5, so it's been a while, but I do love this game, and it's a great pleasure to be here in Arlanda. This is my first time in any flight simulator flying out of or into even Arlanda, and Bromma too for that matter. So then we have the takeoff. Bromma and Arlanda are both airports that are generically made for this game, so they're not great to look at, but they look like proper airports, and I kind of recognize the place, so I guess it's good enough for now. I'm not an air pilot, and I will probably never become a pilot. I just like to fly in this game, and what I'm doing right now, heading south, is probably completely wrong. You're not supposed to do what I'm doing right now. You're supposed to get out of the airport, I guess, and then turn south, but I don't have time for that. So here she is, Arlanda. Not a particularly interesting airport, to be honest, but it's one of our two airports for commercial traffic. There is at least a couple of others as well here in Stockholm, probably more that I don't know of, that is used for private aircrafts, but for commercial traffic it's Arlanda and Bromma. And the first thing I want to do when we get out of Arlanda is trying to find the highway E4 and follow that into Stockholm. So let's see if we can find that, and while we are getting there we should also hopefully see what is known as Arlanda Stad. Arlanda Stad has been around for a very long time, and I don't think from the beginning that it was actually called Arlanda Stad, or I know it wasn't called Arlanda Stad from the beginning. I'm not really sure when we started calling it Arlanda Stad. It was probably most known in the early 90s when it was known as the Eurostop, and but it's nowadays known as Arlanda Stad, and from next year on, I guess it's going to be called Scandinavian XPO for whatever reason. They're expanding it quite a lot, actually, making it a big center for shopping and commercial business. But I'm getting ahead of myself because we're not there yet. We're still looking for E4. There is a road, of course, out of Arlanda Airport, Road 273, but it is kind of difficult finding roads in this game still, because a lot of the roads actually are green, which makes it a little bit difficult finding them. But I think we're getting close to it here. I think what we have in front of us there is actually Arlanda Stad, because there is nothing else that looks like Arlanda Stad here. That's got to be Arlanda Stad right in front of us now. It doesn't really look like that in the real world, but hey, it's generic buildings, so I guess it's as close as we can get it right now. And also you can now see that we have the E4 in front of us here, the highway. So we're gonna go down and follow that highway all the way into Stockholm. And just to the right of Arlanda you have Märsta, which is, to me at least, living on the other side of the city, very, very far away. But people live here and commute all the way into Stockholm. I guess you get used to it, but to me, living on the other side of the city, it feels way off. I'm sure those who are living on this side of the city, on the northern side of the city, feels exactly the same way about us living on the southern side of the city. And so as we follow the E4 down to Stockholm, you can actually see in the background there Bromma Airport. And there's Arlanda again, and yeah, it's it doesn't really look like that.
Cleared through the Charlie airspace, Wombat 69er.
But we have Bromma there in front of us, and what else do we have on this side of the city? Not a lot when I come to think of it. The green areas you see here is just forest. There's nothing there other than perhaps a few houses. You can see Bromma in front of us there, and we should also very soon now be able to see Globen. I think I saw it over on the horizon. What else do we have in front of us here? Well, right now in front of us we have Upplands Väsby, the larger area with lots of houses there in front of us. That is Upplands Väsby. And the only thing I know about Upplands Väsby is that I almost bought a car from a guy in Upplands Väsby many years ago. I'm looking back at it, I'm very happy I didn't buy it from him. It was a Mercedes S600 with a V12 engine. It was 15 years old and he was selling it cheap, although it looked absolutely beautiful under his new paint. And yeah, I had the car for 2 hours. I took it with me, met a mechanic, and he took a look at the car and he said, no, it looks good, but no. And so I drove back and said, no, I'm not going to buy your car. But he was a nice guy anyway. I actually borrowed his car then for 2 hours to have the mechanical checkup of the car. And that was a couple of fun hours. That's the only time I've been driving a car with a V12, and they sound good. They sound really good. Anyway, Upplands Väsby that is. And it's a large community. I have a couple of colleagues at my day job that lives here. People seem to like it. I do hope they like it. And but to me, it's just a part of the city you go past on the E4 on your way to Arlanda or possibly to Uppsala. If there are any IRL pilots listening in, we see the lights from Bromma Airport there in front of us. Is it that easy to spot the airports from this far out? Do they have lights that work like this? Because there are no lights like that are visible when you drive past Bromma Airports. And it's the same thing when you look at Arlanda from Bromma Airport. You can see it very easily on the horizon. Is that how it works IRL as well? I'm gonna say probably not, but I don't know. I'm not a pilot. Now what else is there to say about this area? We have Väsby Centrum to the right of us, and we have Fresta to the left, and we also have Infra City here. So I guess there's a lot of things here I never visit, and yeah, you know, it's how it is when you live in a larger city. And in front of us, we now have Sollentuna, and on the other side of the water there to the left is the Södra Törnskogen naturreservat. And naturreservat is the Swedish word for nature reserve, so in English it would be Södra Törnskogens nature reserve. Södra Törnskogen could then be translated to Southern Torn Forest. None of them really entirely sure why you would call it that, but hey, you're welcome. We have now Sollentuna here underneath us. And we are coming up on Helenelund on the left side of the highway next. And then we have Kista to the right of the highway. And you can see Kista there with the two larger buildings. That would be Kista. And we also have the Kista Science Tower over there, which is, I think it's the tallest building in Stockholm. And I actually think it's the third largest or third tallest skyscraper in Sweden, with a massive height of 156 meters. We don't do skyscrapers in Europe, and especially not here in Sweden, and in particular not here in Stockholm. The largest building in Sweden, I think, is in Malmö with its turning towards, so there might be one larger one than that. But yeah, you know, 156 meters, that is including the roof antenna. It is not a very big, tall building. We also have a tall building to the left of the highway. So we're going to take a look at that when we get closer. For now we have Kista here coming up. And trust me, the highways do not look like this. Microsoft, you need to get your shit together when regarding highways. So over there, that black building there should actually switch places with one of those two in Kista right in front of us now, because this building here is part of Sollentuna Centrum. But it actually has more or less the looks of the Kista Science Tower, because the Kista Science Tower is made in black armor possibly, and definitely a lot of glass as well, so it's black like this one is. So this one would fit better in Kista than it does here in Sollentuna Centrum. But that's just the way it is with this game when you have generic buildings. It's not far from the looks of the Kista Science Tower. But it isn't. This is Sollentuna Centrum. And we're gonna go back to the highway and Kista again. There in front of us, I think it's the first one of those two high buildings there is supposed to be the Kista Science Tower. But here it is a beige building, and it should actually be black, but that's just how it is. Kista is mainly known for its tech community or tech businesses, at least back in the early 2000s, and in the 90s you had all the larger tech companies. Here you had Nokia, Ericsson, Sony Ericsson, and Microsoft. All of them had, many of them still have their main offices here in Kista, or the Swedish main office here in Kista. So I was in Kista regularly in my old job, and these days I do other things for my companies. I don't have to go to Kista anymore because the easiest way to get there is by the subway, and the subway to Kista from the inner parts of the city takes forever. It's only a 30-minute commute by the metro, but still it feels like it's taking forever. You can also take a cab, of course, but during the rush hours it's probably going to take you 2 hours by taxi and 30 minutes by metro, so I recommend metro. And if we continue down here now, we are heading straight for Bromma. We are of course not going to go to Bromma, but we're going to go past the areas of Råstahem, Hallonbergen, Råsunda, Solna, Storskogen, Alby, Hanneberg, Hagalund, etc. Lots of areas. We're just gonna fly past areas I don't usually go to. And we're not going there today. We are still gonna continue down towards Globen, which is pretty visible still. I mean, it is a landmark for Stockholm. And it's weird really, because it's not that tall. It's just 110 meters in diameter, and it can only house some 16,000 spectators for concerts. It's not a big building, but it's very, very visible. Everyone knows it, and it's even found in the SES Euro Truck Simulator 2. The reason we're heading towards Globen is because of the road next to it. If you want to head south out of Stockholm, you take Road 73, and that goes right past Globen as you leave the inner parts of the city. And as we keep on heading straight towards the inner parts of Stockholm, to the left of us you have Ålsten. You can see Kärsön and Fågelön to the left of us, and to the right of us you can see Huvudstad. Probably should see Stadshagen, Kristineberg, Marieberg, Kungsholmen over there, and right next to Kungsholmen, so to speak, we have the Stockholm inner city. Kungsholmen is kind of part of it, the inner core of the city, but we're not gonna visit that in particular. We're gonna go visit the old town, or Gamla stan as it's known to the Stockholmians. One thing that is missing from this picture, if you look out the left window, you can probably, hopefully, see a black chimney. And right around there you should have Gröna Lund, the amusement park of Stockholm. And there is nothing here that reminds me of anything even remotely close to being a amusement park with roller coasters and these free fall things. Nothing. It's like Gröna Lund didn't exist. So instead, let's just look at that's better. Right down to the left here we then have the inner parts of the city, and in front of us we can see Hornstull, and down to the left here we have Gamla stan. It's the island in the middle of the water here, the closest island, not the one just below us right now, but to the left. So we're gonna head over there and take a look at it. To the right of it you have then Södermalm, and to the left you have the inner city of Stockholm, and in the background of that you'll find my workplace. I live in the... sorry, I don't live there. Sometimes it feels like it, but I work in the area just in the background of the inner parts of Stockholm. But coming up here first now is Gamla Stan, or the Old Town. This is where you find gazillions of tourists during the summer. They're all here. And right next to that island, still on the water, you find this white building. Let's get the nose down a little bit. You have a white building there just next to that island, and that is the Swedish Parliaments. That's where the boys and girls we elected for office are doing the governing. And just to the right of that again, you'll find the Royal Castle. The castle actually dates back to the middle of the 13th century, although it burned down to the ground in the 1600s, something 1700s, and was then rebuilt again. But it's a pretty old building, and of course tourists loves it. And then in front of us now again we have Södermalm, where you'll find all the hipsters of Stockholm. They all live in this area. And then again Globen in front of us. It's getting close. Before we reach Globen though, you'll see a body of water. We're going to pass over a body of water again. And on the other side of that water you'll find Hammarbyhamnen. It's an area that used to be mainly, only perhaps even, small businesses, small scale industry. It was a dirty old part of Stockholm. No one really liked it. It looked ugly. And they cleaned it up. I started cleaning it up some 20 years ago, and today it's still being cleaned up and developed, but most of this area in front of us here now is today a rather beautiful part of Stockholm, and it's a highly sought after area to live in. Of course the apartments don't come cheap there, but they have transformed it in just 20 years to an incredibly beautiful part of the town. So there she is, our old golf ball. And I think they completed her in 1991. And by the time she was the largest arena we had in Stockholm, hosting, and being able to host 16,000 people for a concert. Today we have the Tele2 Arena here, which doesn't look like that at all, where you can have concerts and house around 80 or 90,000 people instead. They just completed that a few years back. The area around Globen has also evolved a lot. We have a huge shopping mall there as well. We have a sky view these days, so that you can take a sky lift up onto the top of Globen. If you're interested in seeing the Stockholm from a height of 110 meters, it's not that impressive in my book, but sure, do it. I've never done it. I probably won't. I'm not afraid of heights, but sounds kind of boring to me, at least. Better go then to Kista Tower and to the roof of the Kista Tower. You get a much better view there. That's my tip for you. To the right of us now we have Enquires, and to the left we have Enquires-dalen. And in front of us here you see some taller buildings. That would be probably Tallkrogen. Could be, need to get a little closer. It could be Farsta as well. I'm not really sure from this distance. No, that is Farsta. So we have Farsta there with the taller buildings, and in front of that we have Bandhagen and Hökerengen. And here we're going to take a left turn off the highway and onto another highway. Or not a highway really, it's road 229. The road 73 that we were following down here is called Nynäsvägen, and now we are taking road 229 down to Tyresö. So this is also known as the Tyresövägen. In front of us we have Skarpnäck, and to the right here we have Sköndal. And again, the area we are passing over here, actually Sköndal, is where I first lived when I moved to Stockholm almost 30 years ago. I had my very first job in Sköndal, and I lived literally a 5-minute walk away from work. It was brilliant living that close to work for the most part, except that my colleagues always wanted to come with me home and have lunch at my place because it was so conveniently close to work. So it got expensive going for lunch, but yeah, fond memories. In front of us here, this lake is Ältasjön, and right behind it we have an area called Älta as well, and it's another area of the city that I never go to really, just go past it on my way home from work. You know, what feels like 10 years ago we still used to go to work, and we stopped doing, and I can't believe it's only been 6 months since we stopped going to work here and started working from home instead. It feels like ages. To the right of our aircraft you'll have Flaten or Flatenbadet coming up next. Flatenbadet is one of the most popular beaches, bathing places in southern Stockholm. It is so crowded there. It's actually so crowded that you really don't want to go there this summer because everything is closed. And so everyone goes to the nature reserves, and there are nature reserves very close to Flatenbadet, and then of course you can see the beach there to the right. People go there to take a sunbath, bathing, doing whatever, but it's incredibly crowded, so I'm trying to avoid that. Now we're taking another left turn here off this road and onto the actual Tyresövägen down to Tyresö where I live. The sun is sort of blocking the view, so it's difficult to see the center of Tyresö in these lighting conditions. Instead I'm going to just mention that we have Lindalen and Trollbäcken and Handviken of course to the right of us here, and there is a huge building coming up in front of us pretty soon now, which is the Tyresö View, the skyscraper of Tyresö, which is our landmark. Not as large as the Kista Science Tower. It is a 23 stories and 82 meter high, actually very beautiful building. Unfortunately, in game it's not as beautiful as it is IRL. It is a very, very attractive, there it is, a building to live in, and I personally would love to live in the Tyresö View. Unfortunately, I don't. It doesn't look like this at all. The height is approximately correct, but it's white. It's beautiful, and it's located in the middle of the shopping center of Tyresö. All the shops are located in the buildings it is sitting on top of. You can basically get out of bed and just take your pajamas and just walk down to the store and buy new fresh bread and go back up again for your breakfast. Not that I recommend it. All of you who lives in the Tyresö View, please don't do that. there are other people living in Tyresö as well. Thank you very much. I'm just saying. But of course, now that we're here, I'm going to show you where I live. So we're going to take another swipe around Tyresö. And we're about to come in over the area where I live. You can actually see it now in the window there. There are 500 apartments in that area. And so now we're flying right above it, and I'm not going to crash into my own apartment, of course. That would be stupid. So instead, just briefly about the community. It's a so-called condominium area, so we own the houses themselves, we own our apartments, and we own the surroundings, the area around the houses as well. It's up on a little bit up on a hill, so we own that hill, literally. What else is there to say about Tyresö? Well, there's some 45,000 people living here in Tyresö. It's a quiet neighborhood, really. It's there's nothing dramatic going on here. We have the women's team football. They are pretty good. They actually won the women's league here in Sweden 2 years ago, I think it was. Mainly thanks to a Brazilian girl named Martha. I don't have a clue what her last name is. We all know her by her first name, Martha. Ask anyone here in Tyresö about Martha, they will know who it is. Young ones, old ones, everyone. So we have that, and then we have our golf course that is pretty nice as well. And other than that, well, it is a very sleepy part of Stockholm, to be honest. There's not a lot of things going on here, but I like it here. I will admit it took me a few years to get used to living this far out from the city center, and from Stockholm city center, that is, and of course not living next to the subway anymore. That was a big change for me. Now that I'm used to it, taking the bus to go to work, no problem whatsoever, but it was hard on me in the beginning. In case you haven't already noticed, we're on our way back toward Stockholm and Bromma airports. We're currently flying over the Ältasjön again. We have Kolarängen in front of us. Lots of green areas here, and then there's a lot of it's a huge villa area in front of us as well. To the left of us you have Skarpnäck again, and in front of us we have Bagarmossen. And in the southeastern part of the city where I live, actually the subway doesn't go any further but down here to Skarpnäck. But taking the subway from Skarpnäck into the city is just a bad decision, because it's going to take you forever. First taking the bus from Tyresö to Skarpnäck and then taking the metro. I guess you could take your car to Skarpnäck and then take the metro. That would be quicker than taking the bus, but on the other hand you have to find somewhere to park, and that could be a huge problem as well. It's much better to just take the bus, because we have dedicated bus lanes on the roads all the way into Stockholm. So we're over Bagarmossen now. Lots of villas here, some apartment buildings as well. Most of them are 3 stories high, some are 5, but nothing larger than that, and that is very typical for Stockholm. There is not a lot of buildings with more than 3 to 5 stories. You do have in the outer areas, you'll find a few with 7 or even 10 stories, which is huge. Here, as I said, Sweden, Stockholm in particular, skyscrapers, it's not something you see a lot of. We're coming in over what is known as Björkhagen and Hammarbyhöjden. And then we will be back over Hammarby Sjöstad again pretty soon. Down here to the right you have the ski resort of Stockholm. It goes by the name of Hammarbybacken, and oddly enough in game that hill is white as if there was snow there. There isn't any snow there in the summer, but during the winter you see a lot of families going here for skiing. And now we are just above Hammarby. And Hammarby is known here mainly for their football team. They have some very, very dedicated fans, although the football team, with all due respect, guys, your football team isn't doing that well. We have 3 football teams in Stockholm playing in the major leagues. AIK, Djurgården and Hammarby. And the most dedicated fans are the Hammarby fans. I'm not one of them, but I do respect their passion for their team. It's very, very different from all other teams here in Stockholm, at least. And as we approach Bromma, you can see it's right there in front of us now. We go past Hotas, and just below us now you have one of the largest hospitals here in Stockholm. It's the Södersjukhuset, where I had the not so great pleasure of spending some 6 months of my life 20 years ago. I did a lot of surgeries. I was in pretty bad shape, but I got to live for another day and tell the story. So yeah, 6 months of my life spent in that hospital. So I know it from the inside out. And let's see, what else do we have? We have Södermalm, Hornstull, as I said, Högalid. We have Långholmen in front of us. And there's a plane above us. I hope he's not going to land. He's coming in a little bit higher than he should, I think. He's probably not going to land in Bromma. There we have Långholmen, that little island there in front of us. And we also have Reimersholmen there. That is the greener island, I think. And then on the other side we have Marieberg. Next, after Marieberg, we should have Kristineberg and Stadshagen. And what else is there to say about this area? It's not an area of the city I spend a lot of time in. I usually spend my time, and it's been like that since I moved to Tyresö some 7 years ago, perhaps. And that is actually the 3rd time I'm living in Tyresö. I lived here 3 times. Once in 1995 for a year, and then in 2010 to 2012, and then again now for 6 years, perhaps this time, from 2014 up until now. So I spend most of my time at Tyresö. We have everything you need there, really. If I need computer hardware, I go into the Stockholm inner city and find everything I need there. We have everything. I mean, it is a big city after all. But to these parts of the city, not really. I don't go there. And now we're coming in over Råsunda. And no, sorry, we're not at all coming in over Råsunda. That is to the left of us. We're coming in over Johannesfred. Råsunda is not to the left, by the way, it's to the right, of course. Johannesfred is where we're coming in now, and next up is the landing itself. Let's see how this goes. how difficult can it possibly be? I will admit that coming in a plane like this, it's easy in the sense that this is a very slow airplane, but at the same time it's very sensitive for wind, so it's a little difficult keeping it in a straight line. But practice makes perfect, and as long as you can walk away from a landing, yeah, I guess it's a successful landing. So I'm gonna try to do just that, make a successful landing. It's something I'm starting to enjoy, because most of my landings now, this game is only 3 days old, but most of my landings these days are actually successful. And I haven't played this game a lot. Well, I have played this version of the game a lot, but previous versions, I haven't touched this game since version 5. And that version of the game came out in 93, 94 something. It's been 25 years since I last did anything in a game like this. But there we have it, there's a touchdown, and that's actually probably one of my better landings ever. I'm happy with that. So there you have it. That is Stockholm. You've seen Arlanda, you've seen the... Oh! That is actually my best landing ever. According to the game. I got a reward of some kind on Steam. Thank you for that. As I said, I've shown you Arlanda, I've shown you Stockholm, I've shown you Tyresö and where I live as promised. This is Bromma. Welcome to my hometown. Come visit us. It's a beautiful city. You will love it. There's a lot of really nice things to see here. Things I can't show you in a game like this. But I can assure you, you won't be disappointed with Stockholm. You're gonna love it. The only thing I need to do now is find somewhere to end this video, which means that I need to find somewhere to park this thing. And I think that I'm not really on the correct side of Bromma for parking. I need to probably be on the other side of the airport. On this side here, where we are now, I think you have the parkings for commercial aircrafts. Private airplanes, I think, should be on the other side of that building there. But I'm not gonna care about that. I feel pretty commercial right now. I'm making money from this video, so it is a commercial. So this is commercial traffic. So I'm gonna park here along the big boys and see how that feels. I'm gonna park over there. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you enjoyed my little tour of Stockholm for you. If you enjoyed the video, please give me a thumbs up. If you haven't done so already, subscribe as well. And till next time, guys, take care. Bye bye. Are we still on? I need to turn this thing off. It can't be that easy, can it? Actually, it is that easy. I love this plane. See ya, guys. Bye bye.